Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. I've just been having a look at some of the data around Axie Infinity. I've not looked at it for a while, so I thought I'd spend a bit of time having a quick overview and produce some graphs. So this is what this video is about. Basically, we're looking back over the rise of Axie Infinity in sort of 2021 and sort of the current position. Wouldn't say the rise and fall necessarily, because obviously the game's still in development and stuff going on there. But this is the basic trajectory. So what we got here in blue is we have the daily active unique users, or sort of daily active users. So this is the people who are playing Axie Infinity generally on a mobile Android device. And because of the way in which you can lend people NFTs, you need 3 Axie characters, 3 Axie NFTs to play the game. But if you had 3, you could sort of lend them to someone else. You wouldn't have to play them yourself. This is where the whole scholarship model for guilds has come from. So what we can see here is over time, this is data from Axie Infinity, so we assume it's sort of correct. I can't double check it. But in blue, we see the number of people playing the game. So peaked at about 2.5 million, now down to about 1 million. This is daily players. And in red, we have the number of wallets holding at least one Axie. So we have some interesting, I guess the main interesting thing here is while the number of number of daily players has dropped, probably, we've got another graph on this, probably 50%. The number of wallets holding Axies, has dropped a bit, but it's still about 2.5 million. So now the obvious reason for that, I guess, is the price of Axies has come down quite a lot. So people, more Axies than ever are on sale. So I think there's about 700,000 Axie NFTs that are available on the marketplace. Obviously, no one's really buying them at the moment. So these people are sort of, to a degree, sort of stuck. But there's much less. There's much. I was quite surprised that this wasn't a steeper curve. Obviously, again, it is supply and demand. So could all these people, if all these came on the market, could even at like $1, who would be buying them, sort of thing. But I guess it does show there is this sort of a decoupling of people playing the game and people owning assets in the game, and particularly with Axie Infinity, because the people holding the Axies are generally they are guilds. So guilds have invested a lot of money into Axie, and players were borrowing those Axies in order to earn the SLP. So while the players' numbers have dropped off a lot, the guilds are, whether they want to sell or can't sell or still think it needs an investment, they're sort of maintaining their level of inventory. Yes, so here we have, this is just doing a ratio of these two lines we saw before. So this is the percentage of daily players versus the percentage of wallets. We have this kind of interesting thing here where for a period of time there was more people playing the game than there were wallets. So the only thing I can think of here was that Axies were being moved from wallet to wallet. So you would have the same. I could have 3 Axies in a wallet, and then in the same day I could move them to another wallet that hadn't previously played the game, and so it's those sort of NFTs would be in 2 different wallets or multiple wallets during one day, and would then count multiple times, even though if you count it by NFTs, obviously you can't have more people playing the game than there are NFTs. So that's what I'm thinking of here, and it sort of makes sense. This is back in July, when really Axie is really taking off, and people are really, you can actually earn for like July and August, you could actually earn really quite a lot of money, because the SLP token was sort of valuable in dollar terms. So I think here you can sort of see guilds moving stuff around, here what you'd expect really is 100% means that all the Axie wallets out there all have 3 Axies in there, all being used. So you would sort of expect to see sort of some operational expertise where basically 100% is sort of what's happening, which I guess is what happens here. Then into the end of the year, November, we start to see the drop off where people are starting to not play the game. The SLP price is going down, and then we're down to under 50% now. So that sort of makes sense. This is sort of peak Axie in this period here. I don't know why this goes down here. I guess I could imagine people are. This is when people are moving Axies around. this is maybe when people are there's a lot of breeding going on, so there's a lot of Axies sitting in wallets and they haven't got enough scholars to sort of start playing them. So this is sort of like an operational inefficiency, and this is sort of fairly efficient, and then we start to see the drop off. That would be my thinking, could be wrong. We can also look at some off-chain data. So this is the data the yellow dots are provided by Axie Infinity. So they do this every week, or Jeff does at least. He puts data on an open spreadsheet. Number of DAUs, and then this is data from DAppRadar, which is on-chain data. So DAppRadar just looked at what's going on the Ronin blockchain. This is a public blockchain, but there was they switched their data. So basically, DAppRadar looks at the smart contracts that are underlying Axie Infinity, and this was the original numbers they had in red here, and then they they had a look at the data and thought they were over counting. I don't know exactly what smart contracts they were looking at. I mean, as games go on, it gets more complicated because you have marketplace data, you have breeding data, you have the dexes come in, and people are swapping tokens and blah 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 blah. So I don't exactly know why they basically sort of evaluated what they were doing and brought it in much lower level. But that's what happened. So just all for the next graphs, just sort of be aware that I've sort of stapled together this data in probably a slightly inelegant way. It doesn't change the trends, I don't think, but just so people know. And obviously the main highlight here is, this yellow line very quickly goes into millions of players. So we're still in this phase of millions of people playing Axie Infinity every day. Obviously the on-chain activity, people trading Axies, breeding Axies, and that sort of stuff is in the at best is in the tens of thousands, or high tens of thousands, and now in the tens of thousands. So just to be aware, there is this sort of big ratio difference. Okay, so bearing that in mind, there is this disconnect in the on-chain data. We can look at sort of the growth levels. So obviously this is a sort of a fairly random point. So this is the first bit of data we get from Axie Infinity. So that's sort of random into May last year. Doesn't really matter. We're just looking at the ratio. So I wouldn't worry too much about these numbers. Obviously, note they're in the thousands of a percent. So where it started off here, the 4,000 might not be the right number, but it doesn't matter. It's thousands of percent. And obviously, what we're looking at here is the growth of off-chain versus on-chain. So we can think of this in red. This is just people rocking up and playing Axie Infinity and earning tokens. So this is just your general gamers. Don't care too much about the blockchain. Probably, they've been a lot of these are through guilds, so they don't own the assets. They're being sort of told how to play the game, but they're doing it to earn money. So massive growth in this case. If we look at the numbers, over 4,000%. Obviously, as we know, it's sort of dropped off over 50% now, but still at sort of 2,000% to where it was before. In terms of on-chain data, this is people who, some of these people may be just buying Axies and playing themselves, but this is much more in terms of the guild activity. This is guilds breeding Axies. This is them moving around, creating new wallets. Maybe buying, maybe selling, maybe doing some deck stuff as well. So this again, I mean, still massive growth. It's still almost 2,000% growth, now down to about 1,000%. But we can see here, this sort of typical thing we'd expect is when a game goes big, we'd expect the growth of the off-chain activity to be much bigger than the on-chain activity, because this is more sort of serious investment sort of grade activity, or people who really sort of know what they're doing and have money to spend. This is more just like sort of people playing for free and earning stuff. So I guess as blockchain games get more popular and some of it's off-chain, some of it's on-chain, we'll expect to see this sort of difference between sort of the popularity and the sort of the investment side. Okay, so let's have a look let's put some tokens in now. So this is I've normalized this. So this basically means at a certain point in time you make everything 100% and then see how it changes. So here we have in blue we have the number of wallets holding Axies, which is we've already seen sort of peaks and then comes down a little bit, but basically stays the same. This is should point out this is a log scale on the vertical. So this does go down a little bit because this is all sort of the way log works. It looks like it's plateaued, but it has gone down a little bit. You just can't see. So we have the AXS token. So this is the governance token. Again, this is the price in dollars. So we can see here even though this is interesting actually, even though sort of Axie is growing quite a lot, there's a bit of, people are unsure. Seems like the price of the AXX token, no one's quite sure about. And then by the time the number of people holding Axies is growing by high hundreds of percent, then suddenly we have this sort of takeoff of the Axie AXS price. Peaks in sort of late October, early November 2021, $150 if my memory is correct, and then it's come down quite a bit. Currently, I think about $30, but we can see compared to where it was before, still up 1,000% if you bought it back in June. So this is that sort of model, and obviously we can see the SLP token. So this is the utility token. This is the one that sort of extracts value, so people who are playing the game earn this token directly from the game. And again, we can see sort of growth when everything's growing, but it's 500% probably up there. But quite quickly, even while the AXS token is sort of still continuing to grow and the number of Axie holders is still growing, the SLP token has already sort of peaked and is sort of under 100% compared to where it was. This is a sort of an arbitrary kind of point in time. This is just where I had data for the Axie holders. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but obviously just showing the trends. And we can see here now, SLP token sort of come right down and is now heading for about 90% decline on where it was at this sort of random point in time. So this is sort of what we expect to see the sort of daily active user numbers dropping off so much, because they're extracting value from this SLP token. The value of that's gone down 90% from where it was back in sort of June last year, and that's sort of driven that sort of daily usage down. The AXX token, a bit more governance, a bit more of an investment grade thing. I suppose people think this can capture some of the value of Axie Infinity in the long term. Still gone down quite a bit, but nothing like. Should point out that went up a lot more, massively. That's where the value sort of accrued, but yeah, these sort of long-term assets have sort of done much better, I guess. And then we can also throw in, just for laughs and giggles, the on-chain and off-chain activity. So we can see here, actually, the off-chain activity, saw massive growth. I mean, basically it's the same as Axie holders until it sort of dropped off. So even though it's now down to under 50% of what it was, under 50% of the number of Axie wallets holding it, it's still back again, slightly random point in time. But that's where we normalised from. We can still see that actually the off-chain activity has dropped off much less, actually, even than the on-chain activity, which has come down quite a bit as well. So if you take out the SLP value, so everything is still quite a long way off its high. Again, this is a log scale, but this does tend to, I think, show to some degree the enormous growth of Axie Infinity. And I guess that's while people are sort of bemoaning the current situation, the thing to forget is it's come in an enormous way from where it was. So even now, apart from the SLP token here, everything's up still. 500% more activity now than there was back in sort of June last year. So yeah, that is the conclusion. And obviously, Axie Infinity has a whole bunch of other stuff coming on, redesign, the new version's coming out soon. So keep an eye on this data. I'm not saying that necessarily that the future performance will sort of recover to where it was at its peak. I think that was a very particular sort of trajectory of growth that was happening there. But I think at some point we'll see some of these declines plateau at least. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is Blockchain Gaming World, where we spend our time looking at data and trying to make sense of it. Please subscribe to the channel. See you again.